think in our daily lives, it's important to recognize that you have what you give to yourself. And that doesn't necessarily, and I don't necessarily mean that in a physical sense, in that anything that you can have, anything that you could possibly gain, is only something that you can get for yourself. Because I think a large part of life is relying on others and is trusting in others in order to achieve what you want to achieve. But when I say that you only have what you give to yourself, I mean in a mental and an emotional sense. In that, regardless of what the physical world is showing you, if you're not able to give that feeling, that emotion to yourself, then eventually you'll just end up being controlled by the world. You won't truly be able to substantiate anything, and anything that you do have could easily be lost from that place of insecurity and from that lack of giving it to yourself. It's almost in the sense that if you have money, let's say that you have $1 million, but then mentally and emotionally you think that you're poor, eventually you will lose that $1 million. Or you won't truly be able to live life as if you were a millionaire, as if you had that money to begin with. And it's about recognizing that someone that is physically poor, someone that physically does not have money, if mentally and emotionally they were a millionaire, and that means almost flowing in that direction naturally, taking those actions, thinking those thoughts, talking to those people, then naturally they'll find that $1 million for themselves. It's about recognizing that you can only have what you give to yourself first. Because I think there's a big disparity between the internal and the external. Because in the internal, we have full control. We have full control over the circumstances that we find ourselves in internally. The thoughts that we think, the emotions that we feel. But then externally, we don't have control over anything. We can have influence over the things that happen to us, but we don't have control over it. God doesn't judge us based on our external circumstances, but our internal. And it's about recognizing that we do have control over our internal circumstances fully. And it's about recognizing that the internal is almost directly linked to the external. So if we substantiate positivity, if we substantiate the feeling, the emotions, the mental space of having everything that we desire internally, then it won't really matter if it happens externally. And once you're at a point where you're good with it and you're good without it, when you're unchanged whether you have something or whether you don't have it, but then you're substantiating that positivity, you're substantiating that positive emotion of having it, then you're allowing yourself to have that thing. And if it aligns with God's will for your life, then you'll have that thing externally. But it's about recognizing it's not about fighting with yourself. It's not about, oh, I don't feel like doing it, but oh, in order to get this thing, I have to do it. Because if your emotional state is always based on the things and the circumstances that you find yourself in, then you'll never truly be able to control anything. Because I think that the external is directly based on what happens internally. So then if you allow your internal to be based on the external, then it's just a loop, with the external is controlling the external, rather than the internal controlling the external. So it's about recognizing that you can only have what you give to yourself. You should substantiate the feeling, the emotion, the mental capacity, the spirit of living your best life, of being your best self. And in doing so, we almost allow ourselves to flow in that direction naturally. It's not something that you force yourself to do. It's not something, like the actions that you need to take no longer become something that you have to force yourself to do. It becomes just a part of who you are. And you no longer become focused. You no longer become emotionally dependent on the physical world. Because if you're emotionally dependent on the physical world, then you'll never be able to substantiate anything in the physical world for yourself. It's about recognizing that abundance only comes to those who are abundant internally. And lack only comes to those who lack internally. The above verse I have for this video is taken from Matthew 13, verse 12. And it says, whoever has will be given more, and they will have abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken away from them. So, I hope to take something from this video, and have a great day.